It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
With Ease US makes studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. The You Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. You Like.
We are. Can you see me? Okay. Scotty says I'm kind of dark. I think I kind of am. I'll try to move up a little closer here. The Pete Sousa Show. We're live. It's Christmas time. So we're live and in Pennsylvania. Let's see if I can. We're in Philadelphia. That's too dark, right? I like doing this on the fly. We'll stick with this. So we're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we couldn't be happier to be with you guys today on the Pete Sousa Show. A lot to discuss. Scotty Swingler at the home office, holding it down back in Central Texas. Chris Visser. Nice time to be in Orlando. It's literally, I woke up to snow on the ground this morning. So that was something that I wasn't quite ready for, but it melted away. So I didn't even have to shovel or anything. So that was like a real positive. My mom she's doing great, actually. Can I tell you the truth? Like, it's like she's like Kobe after he came back from like Germany. Like something's going on over here, right? There you go, Scotty. How about it? Yeah, all right, little round of applause. Yeah, she looks really good, which makes me happy. So with the show today, we have Mike Mayock coming on, which is like super exciting, right? I love Mike Mayock. He is a former Boston College guy. Played in the NFL for a little bit. Actually worked in commercial real estate for like almost 20 years before he got into being an analyst in the NFL, where he just did a phenomenal job and, became the GM of the Raiders. And we're going to talk to him about all that stuff, evaluating players he likes now. I'm always curious as to how you can fix the Raiders. I want to hear his opinion on the college football playoff, formatting, structure. I mean, this is a guy, Notre Dame, one of the last two teams left out of the college football playoff. Mike, when he was working for NBC, was the analyst on Notre Dame games for, I think, 5 or 6 years. So he has a connection to some of the hot button topics right now going on around football. And also I can just talk to him about what it's like being Mike Mayock, which is pretty awesome. I bet I'm excited to have a cool conversation with him. What's interesting, I mentioned the fact that Notre Dame, one of the first teams out of the college football playoff, second was BYU, and the two of them are getting together over the next couple of years. It was just announced yesterday that BYU and Notre Dame, Notre Dame is looking for someone to engage with a Power 4 team to fill the void left by USC, because the next 2 years, I guess they couldn't come to an agreement. So it's BYU. I like, just from like a college sports, it gives me a good college sports feel. These are two schools that are, they're both private, right? Like private institutions that are religious, right? Like Notre Dame, obviously Catholic. And what you have with Scotty, this shot looks horrible. Hold on. I got to fix this. It's not Scotty's fault. Scotty, what do you think I should do here? Give me some direction. Come online, Scotty. What do you think? How do I make this less dark? Because it is dark, right?
You could turn on a light in the room.
Okay. Hang tight.
Okay.
How about that better?
Marginally.
Let me turn on another light. Hold on.
You could close the blinds on the windows.
That ain't happening, dude. I mean, you don't mess with mom's like Christmas vibe, bro. Right? Like, I can't go closing the blinds on these windows. I could be in hot water.
Hey, man, you asked for solutions. You do not have to accept my solutions.
All right, it's already better.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely is. Okay. So thank you very much, Scotty. See, that's why we have Swingler, dude. He's like, I mean, Scotty's a legend, dude. A legend. So, but yeah, I like the idea. Well, let me start over again, just in case this becomes a clip-worthy situation here. It just announced yesterday that BYU and Notre Dame reached an agreement to play each other over the next 2 years. I love the fact that it gives me like a college-y feel, because they're two private religious universities, and they both have amazing football programs. I think that Notre Dame is in for a bit of a surprise. I don't care how well-versed they are in college football. That first game they're going to play next year is going to be at Lavelle Edwards, and BYU is a better football program right now than USC. I said it, right? And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon when you look at the influx of resources at BYU in this now NIL era. So I'm going to tell you right now, BYU is going to win both of those games against Notre Dame. They're going to beat them at home at Lavelle Edwards, and they're going to beat them on the road, I believe this, in South Bend. And the reason why is because BYU is only getting better and more powerful and stronger as a college football program. Like, this is just the tip of the iceberg. For Notre Dame, I feel like we know who they are. And there's that, we could see a new version of Notre Dame, but Marcus Freeman is in the mix for the New York Giants coaching job. That's real. So Either way, as a Big 12 guy, I love it because what does this bring us as members of the Big 12, right? It brings the Big 12 a great opportunity to win a big-time non-conference game. If BYU can knock down a Notre Dame, okay, that changes the way that not just BYU is looked at, but the entire conference is looked at. Like, you're telling me if BYU had beaten Notre Dame this year, they wouldn't have gone to the college football playoff? They would have. And conversely, Notre Dame beat USC and they didn't get in. Like, USC, for all its resources and all the history, is headed in the wrong direction. So I guess you could say good on Notre Dame for making this move and to kind of step up in weight class. I truly believe that, to take on a BYU. So I think that is a powerful opportunity for the conference, because I was asked yesterday, I was on a show yesterday, and I was asked, what can the Big 12 do to increase its opportunities and team members in the college football playoff? And really, I don't think there's a magic bullet. I think it's, what Brett Yormark told me right before last season started. We've got to win the big non-conference games. And the Big 12, you could say, handled business this season as far as that was concerned. But you're only as good as your opportunities. And this is an opportunity for the conference to really make a mark early on in the non-con. Maybe not even early on, because BYU played USC, or excuse me, Notre Dame played USC late in the year. So I'm not quite sure when that game would be played. But I know the first iteration of this 2-game set will be at Lavelle Edwards. So that's going to be pretty cool. I think that'll be a lot of fun just for college football fans too, to see the juice that'll come via a rivalry like that. But it's a big opportunity for BYU and the Big 12. So good on Brian Santiago and BYU and their athletic department for making that happen. And that's just a smart move. And now, from a recruiting perspective, you get to tell kids, hey, we're playing at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's on our non-conference schedule. Like, kids love that. That is something that is so, I think it's, I know for myself, and this was decades ago, but like, gosh, could you imagine the opportunity to go to another big time school and you play your conference schedule, but then you're going to play a Notre Dame too. And when you play that game at Notre Dame, there's going to be a vibe and a juice that is second to none. And you're also, on NBC where the whole world is watching. So great move by BYU. And ultimately, I think it's a great move for the Big 12. Super excited about that. Speaking of the Big 12, we haven't talked about Texas Tech's opponent in the college football playoff. And it is going to be Dante Moore and Oregon. And I was surprised to see that Texas is an early, I think, 1-point underdog. That's how it opened. I found that to be interesting. Either way, when you break down the matchup, by the way, one thing that Dan Lanning said, and I totally agree, and of course he's going to be transparent because it's not like it has any effect on his game or what will happen, but the game's at the Orange Bowl. Like, that game in another world should be in Lubbock. It should be a home game for Texas Tech. A fear of mine, truthfully, is, and I just am big on history, Oregon had a game last week. And for lack of a better term, like you could call it a tune-up. They didn't play great in the second half, or not as well as they would have liked to. But nonetheless, you come away with a big victory. Everybody's healthy. And now you roll into another week of football. Texas Tech, they've been off for a minute. And all 4 teams that had byes last year lost. Some of that you could say had to do with the matchups, but I think there is something real about that time off and how that would affect you, how that would affect a program. So hoping that the rust is knocked off by Texas Tech. I like to think that a Joey McGuire team, there are really no days off from exuberance, from energy, and you can bet those guys will be ready to play. As far as the matchup is concerned, I think it really suits Texas Tech. It's a similar situation to BYU when you look at, okay, how does Oregon win football games? They run the football. They got a bevy of running backs. They're big in the trenches, right? That trench warfare. I think that enabled them to get up early on JMU, just dominating up front. It's going to be a whole different situation against Texas Tech. You have, first of all, you have run stuffers. You know, you look around some of these All-American teams, and I mean All-American teams like first, second, third team. There are 4 guys from Texas Tech, their defense, that are featured on first, second, third team All-American. You know, and one of those guys is David Bailey. So when you're not shutting down the run, right, with those big guys up front, taking up 2 gaps and allowing Jacob Rodriguez to fly around and make plays. And then you got Romario Noel, who's also able to get off the ball at the point of attack and can also get right by offensive linemen. Texas Tech is not only suited to stop the run, right, but they're suited to stop the pass. And so, and I say that because it's not, this Texas Tech team is not a one-trick pony. Now, with Dante Moore, you're going to see a lot of read option too. So they'll have to stay honest, right? And that's really important because you talk to any team, Texas Tech's defense is so good, and Oregon runs the football so well. There is a potential to see a ton of misdirection, right? And a ton of, I mentioned the read option. They want to slow this defense down and make them think. And because that's the one thing when you have an elite athletic defense like a Texas Tech, it can almost hurt that electricity that flows out of a defense when you really have to, you know, you're using your eyes on everything, right? Pre-snap. And then, of course, after the snap, you have to see everything that goes on. It takes away some of that reaction time. So if Oregon can get going early, running the football with misdirection, Dante Moore, is he going to keep it? No, he pitches it. Or now he does keep it. Like, those are all the kind of things that will keep the Texas Tech defense honest and really can limit their ability to be productive. But if you can stop them running the football, you definitely can stop them when Oregon has to throw. Because keep in mind, Texas Tech has some of the best pass rushers in all of America, guys that could start in the NFL right now. And their play in the defensive backfield has been elite for pretty much all season. And I also always look at the gap, right? The wide gap between Texas Tech and their opponents scoring wise all season long. This team knows how to come out and open up a can on their opponents. My mom's just she's going to get her hair cut. Again, I said she looks great, but there's a little scuttlebutt here. She's getting a ride because we got to work, dude. And then we got family coming over a little later. So I like Texas Tech a lot in this game, a lot. Now, let's look a little bit, and let's bring Scotty in for this because I want to do a college football playoff fallout. And when I say fallout, I kind of want to look at how we got here and where we're going. And the G5 element to this whole situation, I think, is beyond interesting. So if Scotty, if you can make yourself available, I have a few questions for you. Oh, there he is. Okay. Scotty.
Pete.
Grade performances by the G5 teams in the college football playoff.
Just this year?
Yep.
Tulane, D. James Madison, C-.
Okay. I think you could give him a C.
Okay.
I think you give him a C. Do you think, because I know you are a big, and you're like me too. I'm the same way. We love the underdog. What are your feelings about going forward that this format as it is will continue with the G5 guys?
I think the powers that be are going to push against it. Here's the problem. Those schools have to be able to compete for a championship. And so if you're not going to put at least one of them in the college football playoff every year, they need their own tournament. And that's basically just going to create another division, right? Instead of Power 4 group of 5, it'll be like, what we used to have, FBS, FCS or something, right? And then we'll have the actual FCS and then Division 2. I mean, but like, yeah, dude, there's a ton of group of 5 schools. And what's the point if they can go undefeated and like Boise State did last year and not have an opportunity to compete for a championship? What's the point? So they need access. They need a postseason. I think arguments either way make sense. And listen, Pete, I disagree with like Joel Klatt and some others that have been loud about this. I think there have been group of 5 schools over the past 25 years that could have competed for a title. Not many of them, and not that any of them would have won it.
Like UCF.
Yes. Good example.
Yeah. Thank you.
Or Boise State the year they defeated Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl, right? Like there are occasionally these really, I think Houston had a couple teams there with Case Keenum, Kevin Cobb, kind of that era that could have beaten most of the big schools on any kind of neutral day. And so, that doesn't happen every year. And Boise State did not help the cause last year.
No.
By earning a bye.
What would you, and I could tell, what would you give the grades for last year?
I'd give Boise State a B-.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but, I do like the opportunity for those schools to try to make something happen. But again, if you're going to kick them out of this thing, you got to almost create a whole nother postseason opportunity for group of 5 schools. And maybe that's what they do.
Now, what do you think about the interest level for that? That's been concerning some people. I think, I'm not going to come up with something for the sake of coming up with something. I'm not. That hasn't marinated with me long enough. I don't know what I think about that. The fact that there could be a lack of interest for a G5 playoff on the TV side, which affects pretty much everything.
So, like on television, that's not going to draw nearly as many views as the real thing. Like, no. But I'm not one to defend EA games very often, but let me tell you what EA Sports did when they brought back the college football series. They said every school is someone's school. Every school is someone's team.
Yeah.
Pete, North Texas has more people graduating every year than Baylor. UCF, before joining the Big 12, was one of the biggest campuses in America. Okay. There are hundreds of thousands of loyal, faithful, hardcore fans of some of these schools. Boise State, huge fan base.
Yeah.
So to suggest that, look at Shahan's tweet about going to that USF North Texas game in Denton and what the atmosphere in Denton was like. That for the first time in a long time, they had a powerful, exciting football program. That can happen all over the country. So no, you're not going to generate the same revenue. You're not going to pull the same TV numbers, but can it be profitable? Is it worth doing? Yes. 10,000%. Absolutely.
All right.
Can you imagine if they had done that this year and right now you had a semifinal between Navy and USF? And it's Byron Brown and Blake Horvath and all these alum from both those schools. Like that would draw views and interest and money. I think so.
It would. And I believe we're understanding, and I think we've all known, but it's been right in front of our faces now, the last two postseasons. Again, I mentioned the term, and it's becoming overused, but like that trench warfare. Like, in college basketball, if you can shoot the three, you can beat anybody. I mean, if you get hot from 3-point, you can beat anybody.
That's the nature of basketball. Yeah.
Yeah. Like pro football. Football is just different. It just is. Like, if you're going to be outmanned at the line of scrimmage, which more often than not at that G5 level against the Power Four, now we're not just talking about, we're talking about the best of the Power Four. It's going to be a long day, and I think that I just don't see those upsets happening. I think it's almost an impossible situations for some of those schools. I was hoping for a couple this year. I really thought Tulane would maybe do a little better because of the fact that they had played Ole Miss before. But like even after those first, few possessions, it was very clear that this was just a whole different class of football team. And if you're if you're Tulane, like on a 3rd and long, when Jake Retzloff puts it on a guy and he drops it, like there's no room for error. Like you can't drop a 3rd and long, and we saw that. So I was frustrated a little bit with some of the skill guys for Tulane because like they got to pitch a perfect game and it didn't happen, But I would love to get another year out of the G5 and go into the big dance, but I think it's going to change. I do. I think this is like an ever evolving. I feel like we could blow the whole thing up this offseason. I have no clue where we're headed with this.
Well, what we did when we blew this thing up to 12 teams is we gave 4 times as many opportunities, for schools to complain. I mean, and so, Texas and Notre Dame and whoever else, they're powerful. Those are powerful athletic departments, schools, football programs, brands. And Texas and Notre Dame are pissed this week that JMU got to play Oregon and not one of them. Yeah. And if I'm in that building, I get it. As a college football fan, Pete, I romanticize and love the idea of what if James Madison had won that game? But you're right. It really, unlike
what
basketball,
if James Madison took Baylor's spot?
Yeah, I'd be pissed.
Right. I mean, so yeah.
Right. And so I get it. That's what I'm saying. I get it. As much as I romanticize it. But my point is those schools deserve an opportunity for their fans and their players to compete for a title. And so if the solution is not put them in the big dance, let's create another tournament. Let's do it. And I think it's a lot. And man, we're going to have so many strata and levels of college football. It's going to be weird. But Pete, if we end up going to the Super League, they're already talking about relegation and promotion. And there's all what college football is going to look like 5 years from now, let alone further than that. It could be so radically different. You're right. This is going to change every year. I bet you're right. I bet it changes next year. But I want these schools to have an opportunity to win something. So
I just hope that there's humans like you and I calling games and analyzing games, and we're not taken over by the robots or something. All right. We got Mike Mayock coming up, and I'm not going to make him wait. So we're waiting for him to jump on. He had to pick up his daughter from the airport for the holidays. It's just we got a holiday vibe going. I got a Christmas tree. Scotty says I don't have enough light. I think he's right, but we're going to make it work. The Pete Sousa Show continues. Bear the truth, by the way. Just all over it today. And he says that the G5 needs a commissioner. I think everybody needs a commissioner, but that's a whole nother story. Brett Yormark should just run the whole thing, if you ask me. The Pete Sousa Show. We'll be back right after this quick break.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
Bubble.
All right, the Pete Sousa Show is back. We don't make Mike Mayock wait. We're presented by Slovakics, by the way, and we like to thank Sikora Family Ford, Crawford Austin Properties, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. I don't have all the logos today because we're on the road. We're at home. We got the Christmas tree, and I think Mike could be not that far away from me. Let's welcome Mike Mayock right now. Mike, I'm right. I'm on Meadowood and Browning, right in Villanova. How about yourself?
I'm a long way from you, brother. I'm in Georgia right now.
You are?
Yeah, we're down south.
Did you move down there?
We're there some of the year, yeah. And
Okay.
We're in a place called St. Simon's Island, and it's a beautiful little bucolic island. And you ride your bike everywhere. And my wife and I will jump on our bikes and ride up to the local, have a couple beers, and get on the bikes and come home. It's pretty cool.
It sounds pretty cool, man. That's probably why you still look so good. It's keeping young out there on the bike.
It's a good, you know what? The people are really nice, and they're in football. You know, it's University of Georgia. There's no such thing as the Atlanta Falcons or the Philadelphia Eagles. It's all about the SEC, and I get a kick out of it.
Well, and you have some experience. You know, I can remember one of your first. You know, you were one of the first CBS SEC crews when it was CBS SEC. You were right calling those games, and that was a part of just that tidal wave, right? That the SEC when they kind of took over college football and television.
Yeah, I mean, you have a good memory. I remember the first break I really got at a larger level was CBS, and it was either a Big East game of the week or an SEC. And even though I was living in the East, I wanted to do the SEC games. And the first one I did was Florida and Georgia. And I saw an awful lot of Tim Tebow and Peyton Manning. And I kind of grew up in broadcasting with all those guys. And for me, who's the son of a coach and loves ball, the energy that's brought in the SEC. And I say this even though I love Penn State, and Michigan, and Ohio State, but there's no energy like the people bring in the SEC.
Yeah, it's second to none. It truly is. Yep. Getting into your career a little bit, you know, you're one of those guys. You were evaluated. You did the evaluating. Then you hired other guys who evaluated for you. There's not many people walking the planet that have that kind of experience. And I with your career, I want to start there. You know, before there was Bo Jackson and John Elway, there was Mike Mayock at BC. Playing baseball and football, right?
I don't think many people are putting me in the same category there as either a football or baseball player. But one of the things I told colleges when I was being recruited was I want to play both sports. And BC was one of the ones that said you can. And I look back on those times now and ended up playing 3 years of baseball and loved every minute of it. Different group of guys, different pace. To be really honest, football practice, spring practice was going on right next door. I used to just laugh. I could hear my buddies cursing me out from 100 yards away, you know, while I have baseball clothes on and I'm batting third and playing first base. And so there are a lot of really good memories of being able, and I think in our society, we place way too much emphasis on our youth specialized. And I just loved looking forward to basketball, looking forward to baseball. Now it's football. I mean, I thought there was something special about it.
There was. And, you know, I'm not too far behind you. And growing up here in southeastern Pennsylvania, I went to Archbishop Carroll and played every sport that I could. You know, I was just you had to kick me off the fields when we changed seasons, and I think that just helped me develop as a guy, and also just kind of seeing the whole field. When you finish at BC, you know, NFL, CFL, and kind of to talk about the rest of your career, we got to talk about that. I'm curious what people don't understand today about what it was like playing in pro football in the 80s. You know, like how much it is different from today. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't very good, and I didn't last very long with injuries in the NFL. But what's kind of intriguing, Pete, is that a few years ago, my son and I were watching an NFL program. I don't remember what it was.
Your son played Villanova, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was Malvern Prep Villanova.
Yeah,
and a NFL Films type program came on, and it was really interesting because we're just sitting there chatting. We were just kind of paying attention. And then Joe Turkey Jones, or whatever his name was, just hammerlock Terry Bradshaw, picked him up and threw him neck first into the ground. And my son's eyes got big, and he's like, "Dad, there wasn't even a penalty flag. You know, what was that?" And I said, "Mike, it's just a different world." And now we protect our quarterbacks to a level that I find unfathomable. On the other hand, if you ask an owner, they say that the owner of hey, the quarterbacks are what make this league go. And if you don't have a starting quarterback that's legit, you're not going anywhere. We have to take care of them. So I kind of understand both sides of it, but it was kind of the Wild West back then. It was hard to get called for an unsportsmanlike penalty.
Yeah, sometimes it frustrates me too, seeing a lot of the flags, and you want to understand it because it's about player safety, and like you said, about moving the game forward with, you know, quarterbacks are, you know, the gold star for the NFL. But it does frustrate. I love the NFL films, like the Jack Tatum, the Mel Blount, and those hits were just brutal, and that was a really exciting part of the game. And I also think it was part of the strategy of the game. You know, like you don't want guys feeling like they can run free over the middle, right? You were safety.
Yeah, and it's still part of the strategy of the game. And the problem is, as a safety or linebacker, it's very difficult. Receiver stretching, the ball could be high, the ball could be low. You've got a launch point where you've got to either make a decision whether you're going for the ball or the receiver, and where on the receiver and the receiver can stretch and move and go up and down. However, your launch point's got to be down here, regardless of how low he is. So I think sometimes defensive players get put in situations that are untenable, but there's nothing you can do. Those are the rules. I think the one that drives me to crazy as a former defensive player are the late slides by the quarterback.
Yes.
Like, if you want protection, get your ass down. Okay. If you want protection from the rules, slide early, identify yourself, I'm out. But the guys that slide late and they get drilled and then complain about it, it drives me up a wall, especially when the ref then throws the flag. And, you know, so there's a lot of those things. I hate it when a defensive lineman is just reaching for a pass. He's trying to bat it down and his hand inadvertently hits the helmet. And I've heard quarterbacks in the offseason giggle and laugh about how they play it up and they're hurt and they're trying to get the flag thrown, and, you know, they barely even feel it, but the flag gets thrown. And I think we've gone 180 degrees the other way with the whole protection thing, but that's where we are.
As a GM, what do you do when you have a guy like Jaden Daniels or Jackson Dart that is not necessarily, I don't know, taking care of their body or at-risk behavior? Do you really try to say, hey, you need to not do this? Or is it one part like, I don't want to take away this guy and how much of a competitor he is? That's a high wire act, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It really is. You don't want to take away what makes a kid special, right? But you also want them to be cognitively aware of what it takes to show up every Sunday and play at a high level. So that if it's 4th and goal and we're down 6 and it's the last minute of the game and you're running boot or a scramble, you better get in no matter what, right? But if it's game 4 and it's 1st and 10 and you're scrambling and somebody's coming, just get down. Now it's 2nd and 6. We're good. We're good. You don't have to make everybody miss. Get out of bounds. Get down. I think more and more coaches and quarterbacks are on the same page there. Like that extra yard by dropping your pad level and trying to take on a linebacker, it might impress your teammates once or twice, but then even the teammates are going, hey, we know you're a tough guy. Just we need you in the huddle the next play.
Get down. One thing about your business career, anything you took from that, I mean, successful for almost 2 decades, and before you got into, media and being an analyst, anything you pulled from that, I always say like life is a locker room, right? Like anything about that locker room you were able to take into your career as an analyst and then an NFL executive, something there that people might be surprised about?
Well, I think at a certain point in my commercial real estate career, I was managing a lot of people. And anybody in any profession, anywhere where you're managing people understands that it's not easy. You've got to be cognizant of what's important to the company and the individual. And you're trying to meld that together so that we're all pulling forward in a positive direction. And when I got into broadcasting, it went back to kind of being, I just had to prepare myself to get ready every week, whether it was the draft or a Thursday night football game or a Notre Dame game. I had to prepare me to play at my highest level that Saturday afternoon at 3:30 for a Notre Dame game, right? And that went on for 18 years or so at the NFL Network with the draft. And, I'm working with Rich Eisen and guys I respect, and we're all trying to pull together, but it's a small group of us. And then all of a sudden you become a GM and there's this whole infrastructure in place. And especially with the scouts, because you inherit scouts, you get hired, right after the season ends in January, but your draft season is not till late April. So you're evaluating that whole. And so I know I'm walking into a situation where, quite frankly, I'm coming out of the media. So I'm pretty sure a bunch of the Raider scouts aren't going to be real happy that they got bypassed for the job, right? Now I got a TV guy coming in. Some of the guys that didn't know me, I think were probably very skeptical, and I don't blame them. And the same throughout the league. The guys that knew me understood, and I was on the road for a lot of years scouting a lot of people with a lot of scouts. So a lot of those, but however, you come in there kind of with the recognition of, I got to manage people now. I got to get the most out of these guys. And how do you do it? And to me, that was a challenge because I had been for the last 18 years managing myself. And then you kind of think back to commercial real estate and what's important to the bigger picture, so there are some parallels there. And I agree with you, Pete. I think every decision you make in life, you don't look back. You just chase it hard. And pretty soon you're going to come up to another crossroads and make another decision. Right. And So I'm with you. I'm with you. I think you make decisions and you go chase them.
Draft coverage. It felt like you were almost more of a teacher than an analyst. Is that something you knew would set you apart? Like, did you recognize that you were doing that? That was one of your gifts?
In all honesty, I'm making a lot of this stuff up as we went because, there was Mel Kiper.
Yeah.
Right. But Mel kind of showed up on your TV every year right around draft time, and we were doing it at the NFL Network where I literally talked the NFL Network into sending a producer with me to the Senior Bowl because most of the guys there had never even heard of it. And I'm like, I had to beg them to send a producer and a camera with me
for the whole week. Right.
Yeah.
Not just obviously. Yeah.
And when we got there, the first practice, the producer, he was kind of a senior guy. His eyes lit up. He's like, oh my God, there's Parcells. There's Belichick. There's Al Davis. I'm like, I've been trying to tell you guys, the entire league is here. Like we need to be here. And from that grew, okay, Mike's going to do stuff each, during the week. And then we ended up getting the practices. And so we're doing the practices live and that's different. Right. And I did feel like my role a little bit was to teach at that. But why are you doing this drill? What can you take out of that drill as an evaluator? Not just a coach. It's not schematics anymore. It's not about a double team down, pull the guard, run counter. No. It's not schematics. What we're into now is evaluation of personnel. So can you help the guy at home learn what's important for a tackle? Why is knee bend important? Why can he, if he drops his hips, is that important? What about leverage? What's important for a corner? So to me, and again, being the son of a coach and a math teacher, I always felt like the coaches that separated themselves on the field were the best teachers. They didn't have to scream and yell, but they had to teach concepts and get me to buy in and get every player to buy in and get better. And that's a little bit of what I was trying to do at the NFL Network.
When you talk about being an analyst on TV, can you remember, and can be positive or if something, everybody misses once in a while, what was your biggest swing as an analyst where you were like, wow, and you're authentic. So you genuinely love somebody, but you thought something different than everybody else, and it either worked out or didn't.
Yeah, I come on. We all have a lot of misses. I had a bunch. I mean, Maurice Jones-Drew, to this day, when he sees me, he just starts laughing. LaShawn McCoy. I mean, both those guys, they just giggle when they see me. And who was it? I think Shady. I got to know him pretty well down the road, and I'd walk into a room and he'd be like, at a soup wherever, and he would name the 4 running backs that I had rated ahead of him every time I saw him. And the funniest things happened when I was doing Thursday night games. So it's 2 NFL teams, and you have the mandatory production meetings, the day or two before the game. And so inevitably, Brad Nessler, who I did the games with, he and I'd be sitting there, and in walks somebody that I evaluated when he was in college. And it was either a good experience or a bad experience. And what I realized, and what really not sobered me up, but made me think it through more deeply, is I'm trying to get the evaluation right, and I'm trying to be careful and make it, because that I was a 10th round draft pick. I was a late pick. I felt like I was better than that. I wanted, so I knew it was important, but I had no idea, Pete, how important it was to these guys at a very emotional time in their lives, that LaShawn McCoy would remember the running backs I had graded ahead of him prior to the draft and give me abuse about it. It just made me realize whether it was really good or really bad, or that every one of these guys, it mattered. And I really had to be cognizant of my duty and obligation to all of them.
It's almost like you could have told Shady McCoy, hey, if I knew you were going to be this competitive and this pissed, I probably would have graded you higher.
Yeah, dude.
That's a good sign.
I obviously missed the tape. I'm sorry. And it was wrong. And I had a bunch of them. And I mean, the first year we covered the combine, it was just me and Paul Burmeister, just 2 of us before anybody. And the 2 of us were standing in the old Indianapolis Stadium, like in the first row of the bleachers, and right behind us, the offensive line's working out on the first day, right? And they're all right behind us. You can hear them grunting and moving. And Paul's asking me a question about a certain player who had everybody thought was a 1st round pick, and I had a 3rd round grade on him. And I kind of went through I was like, well, this is what I see, and I don't think he's going to go as high as people think, because and you hear in the background, you're like, hear this, F you, Mayock, you suck, the kids right behind me heard everything I said and just ripped me. I mean, it was the first year we did the big blow up of the combine, and the first day was traditionally always the offensive line. And my dad was an offensive line coach at University of Pennsylvania when I was a kid. So we get done the first day. It's like 8 hours. I run back, call my dad to get in the hotel. I call him. I'm like, Dad, what'd you think? He said, son, after like 5 minutes of that offensive line mirror drill, I had to turn that garbage off. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, if my father, who was an O-line coach, isn't going to watch the combine, who will?
Exactly.
And surprisingly, people love the combine.
Yeah.
They just loved it. But anyway.
Well, you guys did a hell of a job with the coverage, and Eisen embraces it, and you were dynamic. That was a good thing you guys started there, and then you end up, you get hired by the Raiders, which is a compliment to your work, obviously, on the air and your analysis and evaluation, and you draft Max Crosby, which is that I got to say, a feather in the cap. What about Max Crosby? Did you like, and to make it a two-pronged question, did you ever think he would be this good?
So it's an intriguing conversation because in the first round, 4th pick, we took Cleve Farrell that plays the same position, and that was a mistake on me. I mean, that's my first draft pick, and I kind of erred on the side of I want a tough guy that's going to come in and help us change a culture, going to compete. And I was wrong on the talent, the ceiling. I wanted a higher floor. That's all I cared about. I wanted Clee to be kind of a leader, and and I messed up on that. That was all me. But we get in the 4th round and pick 106, and I can remember that because Max has that tattooed on his body. But Coach Gruden and I had talked about him. We had picked 106 and 108, and I told Coach, I'm going to trade 108. Let's move down, pick up some extra picks, but let's keep 106. Okay, that was like the 3rd or 4th pick in the 4th round. Let's not trade that away. There's a few guys right in there that we really like, and we got on the Crosby conversation. Coach loved him. I loved him. The big issue was the entire league knew about his addiction.
Yeah.
Both alcohol and drugs.
Which for folks who don't know, the guy's been sober for, years now. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I can talk about it. And it's a good story, Pete.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was a little bit, you put the tape on and it was just like at Eastern Michigan, the effort was just the same. Everywhere you look, Max Crosby was flying around the field. He could bend like Gumby, like rare ability to bend and get under blocks and create leverage. And one of the concerns was how big could he get? What did his frame, was it going to allow him to grow? And he has. He's like a 270-pound defensive end now. He's growing into that massive frame. But the addiction was an issue, obviously. And so we took him. His rookie year, he came in 2nd for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think it was behind Nick Bosa. And the entire year, he was still playing pretty hard off the field. And his girlfriend, Rachel, who's now his wife, basically said, I'm out. I'm leaving. And she packed up and moved back to Florida. And that sobered him up. And she said, if you want to do something here, you got to go in a facility, which we as the Raiders backed him 100%, Coach Gruden and I. But Max and Rachel did all the work. And it's a great story now. It's a wonderful story. And the guy's on the cusp, if he can stay healthy, of a Hall of Fame career.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
He's a great story.
Yeah, it is. And I appreciate you being so transparent and sharing that with us. I'm sober 14 years. So I love a guy like Max. It's very cool to see him be in public.
I think that, and he's so public about it.
Yeah.
And now he's an addictive personality. Right.
Yeah.
So now what he is he throws everything into being a great husband and father and football player.
Yeah.
And but you see, he's still showing up at the UCF fights and hanging out with his guy.
Yeah.
He's amazing. And he's sober and happy. And we were at his wedding 2 years ago. And it was just, I was so happy for him. It was wonderful.
That's amazing. Yeah. And that's what they say, if you get sober and you do the things you need to do, there's no place you can't go, right. Whether it's the concert, UFC, or UCF. Right. All right. So I got one or two more questions for you about the Raiders. The Antonio Brown situation. What did you learn about yourself, about life, from that move? Because everybody in the world would have pulled the trigger on it. And when you get them, it's like, wow, this is interesting.
I'm not sure everybody would have pulled the trigger. And there were some hesitations there because basically I was coming into a situation with a team that was 4-12 the year before. It was old and slow, and we needed to get young. We needed a good moral compass in the locker room, a bunch of them, and so we kind of needed to radically change athletically and every other way. Okay. And we knew we had a lot of picks in that draft. And so that was a little bit of that trade. The Steelers wanted a first round pick. And I told Kevin Colbert, he called me 3 or 4 times. I told him no interest, no interest, no interest. And they couldn't move. They were trying to move him for a reason, right? Because Mike Tomlin's as good as anybody at managing players. So all of a sudden they're trying to move a guy that's still in the prime of his career. It's a Hall of Fame talent. And B, they're not getting a first round pick from anybody, so there's some red flags out there. We gave a 3 and a 5. And quite frankly, from the moment he got there, he wouldn't wear any of our helmets.
I remember that.
He wanted us to paint his Pittsburgh Steeler helmet Oakland Raider colors, and we were just like, you can't do that.
Yeah,
like there's 30 some approved helmets. You got to pick one. For a lot of reasons, we can't paint your old helmet. He wouldn't wear any of those. He showed up at training camp in a hot air balloon with burned feet from a cryogenic chamber in Paris, France, and wouldn't wear any helmets. I mean, that was the beginning of training camp. So
great time to have a HBO an NFL film chronicling everything, right? It's like, oh man.
I was so against it, and the league didn't really care. And I'm a rookie GM, and the last thing I want there is hard knocks. Hard knocks. But anyway, it was the only thing that exonerated at the end was when we cut him. We were able to, and one of the reasons he came after me was we suspended all his guarantees, which we had every right to do based on him leaving training camp and everything he did. So he came after me on the practice field, and a couple days later, he did some dumb things in social media with the owner and Gruden, and finally we cut him. And so it cost us a 3 and a 5, and I think it probably taught a bunch of valuable lessons throughout our organization.
The organization, by the way, a bunch of stuff went on that you had no control of, but the product was good. You guys got better, dude. Like leaving that team under the circumstances you did, but it was definitely better than when you found it. Do you ever think about getting back in?
Well, like I just said, we inherited a 4-win team, and 3 years later, we won 10 games. We went to Cincinnati for a playoff game, and they went to the Super Bowl that year.
You lost by this much.
We had the ball on the 9-yard line with 4 shots to get it in with under a minute left and win a game, and we couldn't get it done. And they went on to the Super Bowl. So I don't think we were a Super Bowl caliber team at that point. I'm not foolish, but we had moved the talent level, and we had really moved the culture, and we're moving it all in the right direction. And Coach Gruden had gotten fired, or however you want to call that, earlier in the year. Rich Bisaccia came in, did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
It's horrible that he's not a head coach in that league. But he and I both felt like we were on the verge of something had we just stayed with the program. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think the things that owners do that drive me crazy more than anything is dysfunctional franchises change GMs and coaches every other year.
Yeah.
You got no shot.
And cities and quarterbacks. That doesn't help either.
Right. It's just, I thought Coach Gruden got the most out of Derek Carr than anybody has. I thought John did a great job. John's a great offensive coordinator. So we had this thing going pretty well, and I can't say why Mark Davis did or didn't do what he said, But at the end of the day, I don't know, they've had 3 or 4 GMs and head coaches, and now they're one of the worst teams in the league. And they're instead of if they had kept Rich Bisaccia, they'd be fighting for division championships. And instead, right now, they're fighting for the first overall pick in the draft.
And relevance, which is hard to say for the Raiders. I mean, they have become, their fan base is apathetic. It's a bummer. I've just always, because I'm old school NFL films guy, always have a spot in my heart for the Raiders. But whatever. All right. So last question for you. You mentioned all that time with Notre Dame, just a college football playoff thread. Were you surprised to see them not get in, as well as the school and the university? And were you surprised to see kind of, hey, we're not playing in the bowl, all that stuff?
I was surprised they didn't get in. B, I probably was surprised they decided not to play in the bowl. And I've mixed emotions on that one. I understand, what Kansas State said no, and somebody else in the Big 12 said no, and they both got fined.
Yeah,
because the bowl systems depend on these conferences. To supply teams. But you know what, Pete, we're living in a new world in college football. Everything's new. The stuff that I believed in 5 years ago, transfer kid, you better watch out for transfer kids. Well, now everybody transfers.
Yeah.
And now the whole bowl system is starting to fall apart, not necessarily because of the playoffs, but because of the portal. You lose 25 kids to a portal, and who are you playing?
Yeah.
I mean, who's left to play in the bowl game?
Yeah.
It's a different world right now. I try not to judge too much the older I get, because some of this I don't understand.
Well, Mike, I'm a huge fan of yours. Thanks a lot for spending the time today. Really appreciate it. Merry Christmas, the whole deal. Happy holidays. I'll tell your buddy Ted Peters you said what's up. He's right down the block here, I'm sure. Haverford school guy.
Yeah, please tell Ted I said hi, and we missed the 610, and happy you're getting the chance to enjoy it.
All right, man. Thanks, Mike. Take care.
My pleasure, Pete.
Oh man, how good was that? Mike Mayock. Wow. That's a guy you respect, admire, and he's always been so likable. I've never had a chance to have a conversation with him, but privileged to do it there. Real cool stuff. And by the way, I let him off the hook. He never answered my question if he wanted back in, because he should be back in, because truly that job he did with the Raiders was phenomenal. All right, so Swingler, show yourself. You don't have to get all pressed up. I'm just saying goodbye. All right, so we'll be off on Friday, okay, and then we'll do a show on the 29th. I'll see you. I'll be in the house for that. But I want you to have a very Merry Christmas, Scotty.
Back at you, Petey. Tell your mom I said hello.
I will. She went to get her haircut. Did Charlie, her dog, blow that? That was an amazing conversation. Could you hear the dog barking?
I mean, not really. It all worked out.
That was an awesome. The Max Crosby stuff. That was so cool. Yeah, I enjoyed that. Mayock's the man. All right. Anything from you before we go?
No, sir. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, brother. I love you. And we'll talk here soon.
Buddy.
Let me know if you need anything. All right.
Back at you.
All right, man. Scotty Swinger. There he is. All right. We're presented by Salvatrix. We appreciate everybody. We will see you on the 29th.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference, because my stress level when we shut down to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Show. Sports.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.